Dr. Elizabeth Steeby, and I'm an associate professor of English here at UNO. I specialize in Southern literature with an emphasis on the first half of the 20th century, and focus in particular on structures of race and sexuality that came to define Southern literature, culture, and history during that first half of what we consider the Jim Crow era of segregation. That period is generally thinking about the post-Civil War, post-emancipation era, and kind of came out of trying to understand my own relationship to the South, to understand the place where I grew up, which is Mississippi. I personally, like a lot of people, have been taught that the slavery was in the past, that the plantation was a relic of an earlier moment. But the more I started to study things and just think about the reality of growing up as a fifth grader, going on plantation tours with my classmates who were by and large African American, and none of the history of African Americans' experience was being recognized in any of that, and yet here we were going on plantation tours in the 1980s. So clearly the plantation was not dead, and clearly in many ways the long legacy of slavery is still with us. My teaching and my scholarly engagement has kind of come back over and over again to these central questions and what I see as the kind of central organizing structures and geographies, landscapes, memories of Southern culture even today. I probably most frequently teach New Orleans literature, but I also frequently teach Southern literature. It's been exciting to be able to kind of dig into the particular cultural history and literary history of New Orleans. And that tend to be the undergraduate classes that I teach. And then at the graduate level, I frequently teach classes that also center around racial histories of the South and gender and sexual histories of the South. Currently teaching a Black Lives Matter and Southern literature class. Taught contemporary fiction, prison literature, disaster fiction. A course that I've taught is a class called Modernism, Desire, and the Color Line. We just had a great set of conversations about texts that were from 100 years ago, but everybody was feeling like they were incredibly relevant to our current political and cultural moment, and that's always exciting to me. Jesmyn Ward's nonfiction memoir, Men We Reaped. Anybody who lives in New Orleans or in the larger Gulf South region should read this book. It's kind of a memorial to all the people that she's been close to. She lost in her early 20s. They're all African American, they're all under the age of 30. It's just incredibly powerful about Southern culture, about African American culture in the South, but also speaks so much with the kinds of change and justice that we need in our current moment. I think one of the things I'm just struck by every day is just how much culture matters and how much broadly conceived the literary matters in terms of how we're understanding the world that we live in. Graduate study and certainly undergraduate study in literature is just so crucial to survival in the 21st century. I don't know, because I also do think apocalyptically, I don't know how we're gonna make it through with the things that we want to carry with us without really deeply engaging in storytelling in various forms.